By the way, that was an amazing accomplishment to rank number one. Were you the first one, or how did that happen? Did you work diligently to get ranked on Google like that?
Well, when I want something, I usually go and study how to get it. So I was looking on the web for how to rank on the search engines, and this is going back. I mean, I've been coaching for 23 years, so this is probably going back 15 years, 20 years, something like that. But, I found out how to do it, and they said, "All right, you need certain links on your website, and you need people to link to you, and you need this and that." So I went and did it all. Now, back then it was easier, but I was very proud that out of 23 million results, I would come up number one. Now you got to keep working at that stuff, and I wasn't interested in keeping that up. So now I'm probably like ranked 1,000. But I think this brings up a really good point. If something matters to you, how do you go about getting it? Like, say you want Jack Canfield, or I wanted Richard Branson to write the forward to my book. Man,
Mm.
I was like, how does it happen? So I'm just trying to think of a current example. Acting, right?
Hmm.
I want to get into acting, and so I'm like, well, how do you do it? So I went and found a podcast, and I started listening to the podcast. Then I found a Zoom call. I reached out to a couple of friends who I knew something about it. I got advice from them. One of them said, go to this Beverly Hills Playhouse and train with them. They have a Zoom call, so now I'm subscribed to that. And then I went and looked up books, and I found a book, and I started reading that. And then I found, my research showed me an acting class. And the guy said I could order it for free. So I did a 4-hour acting class. And for the first time in my life, I was able to cry on cue during a scene on Zoom. And then I started telling people, hey, this is what I want. Because you got to put it out to the universe. And
Hmm.
by the way, listeners, you may not want to get into acting, but I hope you're listening to this from how can you really dive into something that matters to you. And then a friend said, I'm going to go and audition for a play. Do you want to come? And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing, but okay. So I went and bought the script, which was not required, but I figured I should know the script. I memorized 3 of the scenes, all of
Hmm.
the parts, because I wanted to read for 4 of them. I learned a German accent by Googling online how to do a German accent so I can speak like this if I need to be German. And then I went and I hired an acting coach for 1 hour
Okay.
to give me tips. I did all of that, went and did the audition for Dracula, and guess what? They offered me a role in the play. This is I last play I did
Nice.
was when I was 5 years old.
Oh,
Now I'm
wonderful.
52. They offered me a role, and they happened to offer me the lead in the play. So now I'm playing Dracula in
Oh,
a in a
nice.
in a paid production. So this is all to say, when you pick something like you want to rank number one on Google or whatever it is, there's so many different ways you can go about it, and you don't have to play halfway. You can play full
Yeah.
out.
Well, congratulations. So they wanted a Dracula with a German accent. Is that right?
I don't know. I was the only. I learned the German accent to do Van Helsing, who's the
Okay.
vampire slayer.
I see.
So I did a British accent for some of them. I did a German accent for some. I might have just done an Australian accent for another role, but I really dove into it.
Nice. See, I don't. I think the stereotype Dracula is "I want to suck your blood," right? Like the.
I want to. So I know I
Yeah.
didn't. I
Right.
didn't. I didn't want to do the
Yeah.
classic
You. No.
cliche.
You should hit it hard with the Australian accent. I want to suck your blood, or how say it.
I want to suck your blood, mate.
Yeah. Yeah. Just be angry about it. Well, that's great. I love that you said, you got to pick what you're going to go after, whether it's to, start your own business or
Yeah.
getting to acting, pick up an instrument for the first time in your life. Well, I'm trying to do that. I decided to start with the violin. Why not? So how hard could that be? Yeah, pretty darn hard,
And
but to start.
another thing that just came to mind is I really have wanted to connect with a celebrity for 20 years. And this is Alan Alda, who played the role of
Oh yeah.
Hawkeye Pierce in MASH. I love that guy.
My wife loves him. Yeah, he is
Yeah,
awesome.
I think he's amazing. So I've been like, how do I do it? And for months, maybe a year, I was like, what would I do? What would I do? And finally, I went and did some research. Just looked him up, looked up a couple of interviews, looked at his website, looked at what's going on. And 6 months later, I was rehearsing a speech in my head, and I was just imagining talking to a group of people about this exact thing, how to get what you want. And I thought about Alan Alda, and I thought, I don't really know how to approach him. And then I realized, yes, I do. I just didn't want to do it. He's got a Patreon group for his podcast as a fundraiser. And
Okay.
if you become a patron there, you can join a Zoom call with him once a month and ask him questions live.
Nice.
And I thought, well, there's a start. There's a start. Also, you went into a draw to win a one-on-one call with him. And so I'm like, I'm going to go for that. Now, 4 months later, I've been on 3 Zoom calls with him. I have asked him some questions face to face. He's done the recording for my voicemail. So if people call my phone now, it's Alan Alda saying, David Wood can't come to the phone right now. He's probably listening to my podcast. And I pitched him on that call. And I said, what would be the best way to approach you to be on my podcast? Because I just want to hang with him. And I figured being on my podcast would be a great way to do it. Anyway, I've now achieved the goal of some hang time with Alan Alda. It's not quite going to his house. And I have not gotten a no about being on my podcast. I've reached out 6 times to his production assistant because he told me, reach out to my production person and then we'll see what we can do. And I haven't gotten a no. Each time she's like, okay, I'm going to go and nudge his executive assistant. But all this is to say, if there's something you really want, start investigating, start asking for advice, go and get a coach, ask your friends who knows someone and keep going at it. Now, look, I may never get to hang out face to face with Alan Alda, but I'm giving it a good shot. And I want everyone, I don't want you to go for everything. You don't have time. But go for the stuff that really matters. When I wanted to learn Balinese, very hard language, and there are no training courses, I created my own training program. I got a book. I would read the English. I had a Balinese guy read the Balinese, and I recorded it, made the audio, so I could go over and over and listen to the accent, created my own dictionary of words. The local language school said, can we borrow your dictionary? This is in Bali. They're like, we don't have anything like that. I'm like, yeah, go for it. There are ways. There are always ways to get ahead of everyone else who is playing halfway.